thought I'd do a little post about ADHD and its links to mental health. So 5 years ago, roughly, my partner, Hannah, my fiance, said to me, "Oh, why don't you get yourself sort of checked out? It's clearly something not necessarily right with the way your logic and the way you think." So I did some questionnaires, and it turns out I have ADHD. So I'm not a big fan of labels. I'm not a big fan of labels at all. But what this has done is helped me kind of understand how my brain works, and how it kind of. So for a long time, not mistaken. I thought I had depression because I'd have these highs and then these lows. And as it turns out, depression is one of the symptoms and one of the traits of ADHD. And then I'll snap out of it and I'm fine. And I wanted to kind of link with a mental health awareness thing that I'm trying to push, obviously, with the podcast. And kind of like how they tie in. Because sometimes, you're kind of not always suffering with depression. It might be something else. So that's kind of what the road I was going down with it. Yeah, it's helped me understand kind of how my brain works and explained a lot of things. Because at school, I got labelled with being like a naughty kid. Got told I was hyperactive, which I suppose I was. And some of the symptoms that I had as a kid and some of the symptoms now I have as an adult kind of make sense as to the way I think. So obviously lack of concentration, fidgety. Like, so in restaurants, I'll go around the edge of like tablecloths or pillars. I'll sit and I'll twiddle the corner of a pillar. And I can't keep my hands still. I can't, as you could probably see now when I'm doing this, I'm fidgety. Whatever you've seen any of my podcasts, or for the viewers that have seen some of the podcasts, I fidget, I move around. And again, that is a kind of an ADHD trait. I talk a lot, which is one of the reasons why I started a podcast, because after 40 odd years of being on this planet, I've realized I'm good at fucking talking. So again, you can use it to your advantages as well. One of the other ones is I don't have a filter. What comes in here doesn't necessarily get filtered out before it comes out here. Your brain, it's exhausting is kind of one of the things, when your brain is doing overtime like it is. A lot of people will just say, "Oh yeah, it's he's just naughty," or as a kid and everything else. But it's like I say, it's understanding it and the fact these traits, how they manifest themselves and understanding them. So acting without kind of thinking about consequences, almost adrenaline seeking is one of them, and not having a sense of danger. So if I look at all the professions I've done over the years, either the military, the bodyguarding, the close protection, the working on the ships, and now the fire service, I'm always seeking some sort of adrenaline rush. And that is, again, one of the major traits of ADHD. And obviously, if I'm not getting that from work, I get kind of like, feel like I'm stagnating. I'm not doing so. So I push into other things like boxing or something. I need to be constantly active and doing something, or my brain kind of goes into a state of almost depression, or kind of, it's not happy. So yeah, sometimes and like over the years with the whole kind of mistaking stuff for depression and everything else, again, I'm not saying I've been to the point of taking my own life, but it's got to a point where you've got really, really low with it and you can't understand why. Nothing really to feel that down about, but you can't kind of snap out of it. So yeah, there is all sorts of bits and bobs with it that kind of help you understand it. And once you understand it, it's quite liberating, actually. You then find, well, that's why I did that, or that's why, like in a classroom environment, you're struggling to learn, because people are trying to tell you, give you information, and you can't pick it up. You've got to be shown something practically. That's how I learn. Someone shows me something practical, I pick it up. However, you try and teach them in a classroom, I find it really, really hard. So like fire service training and that was really, really hard for me to try, and the information and stuff that you were getting told in a classroom environment, I couldn't pick up. Never had a drama on the drill yard, being shown ladder drills, was shown how to pump or do stuff. I picked it up straight away because I saw it visually. So again, that's just another thing. It does have its advantages. I'll say advantages to the people around you. It's not necessarily an advantage as such, but you become hyper focused on something and almost like tunnel vision that you want to. So some tasks, like trying to get tasks started and stuff, if you're not interested in it, you are not interested in it. Full stop. That's it. You're not interested in it. You won't get into it. You won't find it interesting. You won't do it. You'll put it off. You'll probably do it, but it won't be to a good standard. However, if you're into something, like proper into something, you become hyper focused. I've learned this recently from a colleague at work that's also got diagnosed as a kid with ADHD. And he's kind of been really, really good with giving me information about it. But the hyper focus thing is like, so the podcast, I've been able to do nothing else but the podcast. I got it in my head I was going to do a podcast. I wanted to do it to raise awareness for mental health because, again, lots of people I know over the years and quite recently have taken their own lives because of struggling with mental health. It's still not out there big enough. There's still not enough in society to help people cope with stuff, and the system certainly needs an upheaval and an upgrade and needs sorting more. So if I can raise a bit of awareness and do something and get people talking, that's not the sole reason of the podcast. It was a bit of a hobby. I get to talk to all these people that I find interesting as well, but obviously it's to give a bit of an insight to veterans and to military life and the fire service along the way and everything else. Anyway, I digress. See, part of the ADHD, I'm off at a fucking tangent. But yeah, if I can sort of just raise a little bit of awareness, then that's all good. But if you hyper focus on something, I found out recently that like a big percentage of entrepreneurs, excuse my pronunciation, have ADHD. And it allows them to hyper focus. So once they get something in the head, they can push and push and push. And that's all they channel their energy into. It can be hard for people around you. And one thing my fiance has done is she's kind of read into it and she's learned about it to enable her. Because it's not easy living with someone with ADHD of varying levels. It obviously comes in varying different levels. I don't know what level I have it, but I have a lot of the traits. So for a loved one helping or a family member to read through stuff about ADHD, it helps them kind of understand how your brain works. And it stops them getting annoyed with you at things because they don't understand, if that makes sense. But anyway, that was a little post literally about the ADHD. I hope people find it informative. I'm no expert by any, by no means, but if people wish to message or comment on the post, then I'd appreciate that. And also if they need to seek help, I do deal with one of the sponsors that sponsors the podcast, Responder Resilience. Crisis team does a lot with mental health. If anyone's struggling, please reach out to them because he's Sean McCallum, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, hopefully it kind of explains a bit about me and how my brain works. And if anyone can relate and it helps someone sort of get a bit of a diagnosis and kind of understand how their own brain works, then it can only be a good thing. But nice one, guys. I will speak to you soon. There's a new podcast out on Sunday. I'm not entirely sure which one it is yet because I've not edited it, but it will be out on Sunday morning. So look out for that one. Nice one. Have a great evening, guys. Bye.